Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to H Cast episode 32. I hope you are all well in the chat. Please do, as you come in here, hit that like button and give the stream a good old share as well. That'd be absolutely fantastic. So, today's stream, we've got actually a pretty big one. And obviously couldn't really put it all in the title, but we're going to be taking a look at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, getting the panel, because we've got more people on the way, getting their thoughts on it. But we'll also be touching on the box office, things like that. We'll be taking a look at Jonathan Majors, obviously MCU. He appeared in court recently. We'll take a look at Scarlett Johansson's Disney legal battle, because she's come out and said some bits and pieces about that. Again, MCU related. And we'll be taking a look at The Little Mermaid. And of course, we'll have a little bit of a fun jab at Grace Rendell, because she said some very stupid things, because that's pretty much the norm when she opens her mouth, as well as the prequel to It as well. Welcome to Derry. That's a small update on there. And Star Wars Skeleton Crew when Nick drops in later in the stream. Ooh. So again, pretty full on stream today, guys. Please do hit that thumbs up button. But I'm joined currently by Culture Casino. How are you doing, good sir?
Fantastic. I'm having a good day. A little congested because I did a little woodworking out there in the great outdoors. Nice. So yeah, full of allergies, but it was a good time, and I'm glad to be here. And boy, do we have some fun things to talk about. So
yeah, it is quite the full-on stream today. So yeah, good. Guys, if you want to check out the links in the description box, obviously got Culture Casino here. Check out his channel linked down below. We also will have Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge After Dark. You can see him in the chat. He's on his way. His channel's linked down below as well. Check his channel out, as well as Nick from Echo Base Network, because he will be joining us later on, as well as, last but definitely not least, is the Hcast live stream channel. So this is where the podcast goes up, basically, and there's all the best bits. They go there in clips and things, as well as the full stream, the full podcast episodes. So check that out down below. Yeah, so that's about it, really. Sort of housekeeping done and out the way. I will say as well, ladies and gents, if you want to join in the conversation, which I'm sure you will, because there is a pretty action-packed stream today, lots to go over, you can do that by using the super chat function. It's a good way simply just to throw out your thoughts. We'll cover them in depth. We will discuss them. Super chats can be the topic, can be anything, basically. So good to do that. So, Culture, first and foremost, what did you think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? No spoilers. Just for those in the chat, if you don't want spoilers or anything like that. But what did you think of Guardians? Because obviously we haven't spoken. I spoke to Andre. We managed to see it before, a day before.
You beat me to it. I quite enjoyed the film. I mean, I didn't have a lot of negative to say, other than it was overly long, and there was a real easy fix for that. What I really enjoyed was the fact that it felt like it was from the before times. I said that in my own review. The film felt like it was made in phase 3, to be fair, and while you could argue that there were like a couple of elements in it that were overly involved, or that maybe it touches on people's sensitivities. For the most part, I really did enjoy the film. And again, the animal bits that people have talked about, I think, are going to be the things that are going to turn some people off to the film. It's certainly not a film I would recommend for anyone under 12, age 12.
Yeah, I mean, the PG-13 rating, I would say, absolutely earns that.
Yeah, it does. And because people will take their 10-year-olds to PG-13s. I mean, I've seen it, but like I said, there's definitely want to set in that age limit quite well. I really enjoyed how they allowed all the characters to have their own individual arcs, and they really did wrap it up for everybody. I mean, there is a satisfying conclusion in the end, and then there were some themes that you would not expect in a Disney film. well, modern Disney film. You could have expected them in previous, like, you know, the old classics, but there were some themes that were introduced into this that I don't know how Gunn got away with it, to be fair, because normally it'd be knocked down by the political hacks that operate inside Disney now. Outside of that, it wasn't dark. The CG was amazingly good. There was only like one area that I thought was a little muddy, and that's saying a lot nowadays for modern cinema. The sound was great. The music choices were okay. They could have done a couple of different things a little bit better, but the soundtrack's still something people are going to want to own. I wasn't sure I was super excited with some of the more modern songs that got included in the soundtrack, but it was fine. And all in all, outside of some really wonky physics, I really enjoyed it.
What do you mean by wonky physics?
Well, you know, just you know, things. How did that exactly happen that way? I mean, just
okay.
Gravity doesn't work like that. There was a lot of moments where I'm going, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, so I mean, because I don't want to give my thoughts because I've already done it basically.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to give the floor to you, and then of course to Tom when he gets it. But
Yeah.
what did you think of Adam Warlock and the sort of inclusion of him?
Remember how I said it was overly long and you could fix things by just, you know, getting rid of one thing? You could have gotten rid of Adam Warlock and it would have been all the better. And I feel bad because they really did destroy an interesting character who would have already had his character arc completely, you know, for, you know, to the redemptive point that he has in the comics would have already happened if they'd just played along during the films. When they originally decided they were going to introduce him, you think about how early on in the process that was. I think it was even in phase 1. Like they showed like that coffin where Adam Warlock was like a cocoon. He was in that cocoon. So, I mean, that's going back a long, long ways. Right. So I look at that and I go, maybe though, it didn't help that they made him kind of a silly buffoon. I mean, you know,
that annoyed me. That did annoy me.
Look, honestly, okay, so it's not a secret, right? That Adam Warlock's in it. There's not a secret that there's elements of the Sovereign there. Of course, you know, the Sovereign Mother is there, and that was just unnecessary. You could have had a nice introduction without that. You could have created a different circumstance with a non-important character that could have created the difficulty that they needed to kind of make the movie go. The engine for the movie, of course, is Rocket Raccoon. Everybody knows that.
But Adam Warlock is the keystone for that all moving.
Yeah, and it could have been anything else. It could have been a throwaway character. You know, it could have been anything that could have put it created a dire situation. But no, that's not what happened. So, yeah, I was very frustrated.
Yeah.
But again, that was it. It was just a little too long. And again, you could have solved that with just removing that one disposable element. But hey, look, even Adam Warlock gets a redemption. Everybody gets redemption.
Yeah, well, not the High Evolutionary. He doesn't get any redemption.
You don't know that.
Yeah, we do. We've seen it.
Okay.
Dear.
All the good guys got redemption.
There you go. Caveats.
Caveats.
Yeah. Again, I'm trying to give the floor to you more.
No,
more than my own thoughts.
It would require a whole lot of spoilers to go into depth on my thoughts. But I really did enjoy. I really did enjoy the growth that we saw in Peter Quill. I thought fleshing out Rocket's story was just brilliant. I have some questions about Groot. Because again, that was the other wonky thing. Not wonky physics, but just kind of there's a wonky there.
They definitely changed, like the look, the aesthetic, the CG, the modeling, the textures. They really softened him up. which is a shame, really. Like, I understand they're trying to differentiate, sort of age and things like that, but
right.
not good. It's
I
not good. From the first one to this one, it's definitely kidified. Put it that way.
I liked all the little creatures, like all the creations and stuff. Because it felt like that was where they really kind of let Gunn go and flesh out, Earth, anti-Earth, counter-Earth, or whatever it was called, just kind of flesh it out. I liked the full development of OrgoCorp.
As like a puppet company, basically, isn't it? Just like
I thought, and of course, everybody knows Nathan Fillion's in it, so it was very cool.
Yeah, I like that. That was good. Like, I didn't realize that. I don't know why, but I didn't realize that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Nice to see. That was funny.
God, there's this goofy stuff. Again, Gunn can make you believe a lot of things, right? And that space station, right? That OrgoCorp space station was amazing, right? So,
sounded like you liked it more than I did.
I gave it an 8.
Wow! Holy fuck!
8 out of 10.
Sorry, excuse my language, but Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, that's coming from me, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and again, it could have been better. And again, because I gave it, okay, so like, I usually use a 5-star system, so I gave it a 4.
Wow,
and so
man.
wow. It's quite. It's a high score. I don't usually score films that high, and it was but it was.
So they, So if they hadn't hit the landing, the ending, basically, I would have absolutely hated that movie.
Me too. But see,
but so I can't rate it that high based on that, because if I know full well that if the ending wasn't satisfactory, then I would have hated it. I can't, in good conscience, be like, it's a 7 or an 8. Like, no way. Wow.
I looked quite past. Yeah, I looked quite past the couple of flaws that were like really there. And I think maybe I was influenced in a lot of ways. One, I was in a pretty busy theater. A lot of people.
Yeah, it definitely matters. Definitely matters.
I was with somebody whose opinion I respect and kind of sees this movies the same way. This is a particular era of music, from starting with the first Guardians of the Galaxy all the way through even this current one, which goes into the 2000s of music. I mean, that was an era of music I listened to. I had a soundtrack for my life, just like these films. So again, I mean, most of the music was good. There were a few choices that I would have made differently.
Yeah. God, I can't believe you'd rate it an A.
I know it's high. I know that's very high. I don't rate anything that highly. And again, it look. And again, it could be also. And I will always admit what would color my thoughts. This is the best thing Marvel's put out in quite some time, and it felt like an attempt to return to form. Like you said, it felt like a Phase 3, film, before Endgame. So it's much higher than, again. I mean, consider the things I've rated before and how down on them I've been, and then here I am, like, oh well, this was.
Yeah, I'm well surprised.
Quite enjoyable. Yeah,
I'm well surprised. We need Tom on here.
I know.
I don't know where he is.
He's working on it. He's coming.
Well, he was in the chat 4 minutes ago. He's still in the chat. So, Tom, where you at, mate? How long are you going to be?
He's hustling. I promise you, he's hustling. But I looked at it, like I said, I looked at this film in a much more positive light, because the cinematography was back. The establishment shot, right, from the very word, and then the follow shot, like you get, coming into it, and then the follow shot, right, and the emotion that comes along with it, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Wow. Well, let's get us some super chats before Tom gets here. So again, if you want to join in the conversation, you want to add to what we're talking about, or even just change the subject and have us talk about anything you want us to talk about, super chats are the way to do it. Goes a long way to supporting the channel as well.
It does.
Al Humphreys for £10 says, "Hello, Mr. H. Off topic before we get started." We're already into it, but
sorry.
Good anyway. But is there any chance you might make a t-shirt for the 510 that is on the lines of the Pulsar and Nick's GTR? Yeah, I had thought about it. I'm trying to mess around with the AI stuff, the AI artwork stuff at the moment. So basically what I was trying to do was get the 510 finished, i.e. put the new wheels on it that are sat there waiting to go. And then when that's on it, try and get like an AI like cool rendering of it, I guess.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and basically because then it's my piece of art really based on my car, which I thought would be cool, and then I can put that on a t-shirt. So yes, it's definitely on the cards.
Cool.
And I because I don't have an artist at the moment. I used to have a channel artist that did all of my t-shirt designs, but he's had a kid. Not him specifically, but he has now a family, and unfortunately his time's just taken up with that. So I don't actually have an artist at the moment, which is a shame because his artwork was epic and we had some really funny designs from him, including the pickled Snokes and stuff like that. So funny. So it's a shame, but I need to get to grips with the AI stuff so I can start changing up my merch again. And I'd like to try and bring that in-house because Teespring is really expensive at the moment, and I make like $1 or $2 on a sale, and it's expensive for you and I don't get anything, so it's shit. Like it's shit all round. So I'd like to try and bring it in-house if I can, try and do like pre-sales, like pre-orders, and then launch and stuff. So yeah. You want to add to that?
I might have some thoughts. We'll talk off stream sometime about merch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Doug 1985 VA loves horror for $4.99 says, "I loved it. I saw it twice in 2 different states because I'm a truck driver. Florida and Georgia, both times audience enjoyed it." See, this is the thing with Guardians of the Galaxy is that the audiences are actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
There's just not that many people going out to see it.
It's got an A cinema score. I mean, it's
yeah.
I mean, the reasons, and I know we're going to get into the box office of it all after we get through Tom's thoughts when he gets in here, but there's not a lot to not like about the film. I mean, to be fair, outside of the things Nate didn't enjoy, but yeah. Yeah,
it's definitely over long. Like it's 2.5 hours. Like,
yeah, it is, and
it is over long.
And like I said, if when I get this film digitally or I get a screener of it or whatever, I'll chop it up and remove Adam Warlock.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
And see what it looks like. Yeah, because I'll do a fan edit and maybe resolve some of the problems.
That would be interesting. Yeah. You can't remove him completely though. That's the thing. You can't.
Not the beginning. Okay, at the beginning you can't, but after that, there's no more. It'd be like because.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, gosh, we don't want to get into raison d'etre or anything, but
there's literally a whole scene that you could just cut out, and it would change. It would not change the story remotely at all in any way, shape, or form because it's just a scene for him, but it doesn't really do anything either. So yeah, you are right. Yeah. Jacob C for $9.99 says, "We have heard so many things, even to the effect Kevin Feige is tired of all the BS and problems. Honestly, I think he should leave Marvel and do his own thing. He's partly to blame, but still, it's Disney." He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He won't ever leave Marvel.
He's basically a studio head. There's no, I mean, it's not like anybody's going to beg him to be a studio head.
Yeah.
Sony's not going to bring him in. Tom Rothman over there is doing quite well. He's not, I mean, maybe if Stars gets picked up by somebody and they look for a change. And again, what is he? He's a specialist in this particular kind of filmmaking. So
yeah. I mean, it would have made it would have made sense if he'd done the Star Wars film that he was supposed to do, right? It would make sense if after that then he left sort of Marvel, right? Because then he's got a little bit more under his belt, a little bit more sort of wider ranging stuff. But I mean, you're not going to hire him to do a really, really serious movie. You're just not, especially not with the decline of Marvel at this point in time either. And
right.
that is part, obviously part of what we're talking about today is the decline of Marvel. Like he's like furniture at Disney now. He's not going to go anywhere. It's not like Victoria Alonso, so it wouldn't make sense for him to leave either. He makes so much money at Disney, at Marvel Disney. So he'd be shooting himself in the foot. And he's definitely to blame. Like absolutely unequivocally, he's to blame. As you said, like he's basically a studio head.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he's unequivocally to blame for this. They like to pass the buck internally and externally, in interviews and sort of dropping things in here and there. People say, "Oh, it's because of this and it's because of that and blah blah blah." But they know that they're all part of the issue. They just, apparently for whatever reason can't bring themselves to change it just yet, which is a bit frustrating.
And yeah, I mean, he's the reason that things look the way they do. I mean, there really isn't anybody to blame. He got a lot of credit, a lot of praise when things were going well at Marvel. So he should suffer all of the
absolutely
criticism. So,
absolutely, yeah. You can't have all of the praise and none of the criticism. It's not how it works. It doesn't do it that way. So I still think, it's looking like Tom's still not going to be in here for any time, which is a shame. So what we will do, we will shuffle on. Tom, you've missed your chance to give us your thoughts, but let's shuffle on now to the box office of Guardians of the Galaxy.
You can't get Twitter to load.
That's fine. Okay. We'll shuffle on now to the box office of Guardians of the Galaxy, because the stream title itself is, of course, the MCU Decline. And, we've hit Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is now past 300 million at the worldwide box office. And looking at that, you probably look at that and go, wow, that's really good. And oftentimes people do, and they see the A cinema score and things like this. And you're like, wow, this is doing really, really well. But it's actually not, and this is coming from, I liked the film. I gave it a good review. It's a pretty decent film. You like the film. But to be truly objective about it is to look at the numbers which have been revealed, because they have revealed the budget and they've revealed a marketing budget as well. And to be objective is to say that this has the true potential, if following historical data from Marvel, Marvel's box office, it has the true potential to lose Marvel between anywhere from 150 to 200 million dollars.
Yes.
To basically be a huge fucking bomb.
Yep.
Massive. And that's being objective, because that's just looking at the historical data. So, I mean, again, these numbers are just insane. It's had a $250 million budget, which is what they've stated anyway. It could be higher. But then you're looking at, it was $100 million to promote. $100 million to promote. $100 million marketing, which I think is actually on the smaller side. I think it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. So, I mean, you are literally, the article here says 600 to 800 million to break even. I mean, that is about right. I mean, you're looking at probably about 700 million to break even, but they've ballparked it between the two figures. It's going to really struggle because the 60% drop off. But what do you think, Culture, as we get Tom in here? What do you think of that?
I think a $250 million film and the multiplier of 2.8 puts it squarely in 700 to 750 million territory to break even. And they had a companion campaign that somebody else paid for of about 90 million, not to mention their own campaign and promotion for the film, which they had to promote multiple times in multiple different places. Is it going to lose money? If it gets the traditional fall off, absolutely. I can't imagine. It's already trending the wrong direction. So
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, my buddy Tom here probably has keen insight in this, but I think it's got to be somewhere between 750 and 800 million before it makes a dime.
Probably. It's 250 for the budget, so 3 times that at least.
Yeah.
Looking awfully disgruntled there, good sir.
I've had a rough day.
Oh.
Sounds it.
Just trying to get the computer working the last 10 minutes was a pain.
Yeah, I know those problems. But why do we think this is? Well, one, I'm amazed that they've spent as much money on this film as they did, because none of the Guardians films have broken 400 million domestic. They don't do traditionally well. I'm really surprised that they've spent that much money on this film. I mean, that seems very, very like a bad business move, right?
Well, you got to remember when they greenlit this movie, the Marvel movies were all making $1 billion each. That's the thing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
So, I mean, I'm sure they were anticipating that. What they didn't anticipate was Shang-Chi, The Eternals, Doctor Strange 2, Thor: Love and Thunder, Wakanda Forever, Ant-Man. Yeah. They didn't anticipate those films. Pretty much all underperforming and or straight out pretty much flopping in some cases.
Yeah, well, so that's an interesting point and is worthwhile noting, right? So when we talk about the MCU decline, you brought up Ant-Man. This opened to less than Ant-Man and the Wasp domestically. If it has its traditional Marvel 60% drop off, it's fucking done. It's dead. It's dead in the water.
The only thing it's got going for it is that they decided to open this up in the first weekend of May, which traditionally like the summer season never used to start until Memorial Day weekend, which is the last weekend of the month. But for the last few years, actually closer to decade, they've been pushing it and pushing it and pushing it sooner and sooner and sooner. And because I mean, on my way to the movie, I ran into no less than 2 people who, you know, after we got into the conversation about what I was up to, they're like, oh yeah, I really want to see that, but I got a graduation to go to this weekend. 2 people had that excuse. So, you know, it's one of those things, and I've ran into a few people who said they plan on seeing it. They just haven't yet. A couple people even said they weren't even aware it was out. So I'm wondering how much, I'm wondering how much advertising Disney's really put behind it.
Well, that is true, actually. I mean, I've not seen any. Has anyone seen any YouTube adverts for this? I
have seen YouTube adverts, but I mean, if people even in our chat are like, I didn't even know it was out, you know, that tells me that they're not getting the reach they should with the advertising, especially for a movie like this, which is arguably the biggest movie of the summer.
Well, it should be.
Right.
It should be, shouldn't it? Right. This is the thing about this movie. For what it is, for it being a Marvel movie, for it being the end of the Guardians, it should arguably it should be one of the biggest of the summer. But they've also released it at a really stupid time as well, because even going into what you said, but further from that is you've got Fast X releasing in like a week.
Yeah. The only thing that Fast X has going for it is that is another film that traditionally has played better outside of the U.S. The films have been consistent for the most part, but they're still very heavy loaded with their box office from outside. I think it's like a 60 or 70% culture. Correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere in there. Outside the U.S. break most of their box offices.
Yeah, outside of like this really strange phenomenon that we've seen with some of the Marvel films.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, same thing with Transformers. Always played much bigger outside the U.S.
And the Fast and Furious franchise, those are always big internationally.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Bond. Yeah, no, but you understand what I mean. It's like they're definitely that. But here's the weird thing: the most recent pattern with these, you like Wakanda Forever and some other films, those are more evenly split, domestic and international.
Usually, they used to be.
Look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, evenly split internationally and domestically. So if that domestic number is low, and that usually means the international number is going to be low. This is a little hope that Disney can have that their international numbers are a little higher on this film right now. But I think that's going to be short-lived because I think China falls off a cliff after the first weekend, just like the domestic market has.
I mean, it barely did anything in China as well.
Well, 28 million. 28 million for the weekend. That's very low. Yeah, it's now, but again, they're going to experience the same problem they have in the States, where that thing's going to fall off a cliff. And because of the way the split works there, and Tom, keeps saying I'm being overly generous at a 25% split, Disney gets 25% of those box office numbers, when it's more likely, I think Tom says 12 or something percent or something very low.
The thing with China is it's more or less bragging points than anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Most movies are lucky to get 10-15 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, this is true. But
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's like why did you open the film there? And but I mean, every dollar counts, and if you're Disney, you got to scramble to make that $27 billion annual revenue, or the shareholders are coming for you. So,
well, does China have a big secondary market as well, though? I'm curious about.
I don't.
I know Japan is still pretty big with home media, but I don't know about China.
I didn't know they just steal it.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Yeah.
Our RPRs, 85%. It's been reported in some cases, yes. We got to imagine with most Disney movies, those culture's probably right. They probably are lucky. They probably bring home 25, maybe even 35%, just because Disney's partnered up with them though over there. That's the thing.
Yeah, they have. They're in bed with China, aren't they?
Yeah, Disney pulls about 25% out of the China market.
To be fair, you have to be in bed with them to do business over there. That's
you
the
do,
thing.
yeah, because you're actually doing business with the Chinese government because they own half of every business. Basically, it's a terrible, terrible circumstance over there.
Yeah.
But, look, I'm not trying to be. I'm not down on the film. Obviously, I gave it quite a high rating. I surprised Nate a lot.
No, this is
I'm up there with culture. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah.
But again, just to reiterate, ladies and gentlemen, this is truly being objective. It's just looking at the data set that we have before us, right? To be as objective as possible is to not be blinded by the fact that you liked the movie.
Yeah, no, and that's how I kind of judge everything. I'm like, look, I may have enjoyed this, but it didn't make any money. There's a lot of films I've enjoyed, but they didn't make any money.
And Renfield was great, and that's bombed.
It bombed hard,
unfortunately.
Yeah, it was the best thing Nick Cage has done in a while, and it sucked rocks. So I'm like, wow. But honestly, I mean, if you're gonna be fair about these films, Marvel is falling off a cliff because they've alienated their audience. And we in fact, Adam's in the chat here. Hi, Adam. I haven't seen a super chat from him, but Adam's in the chat. He said something brilliant in my stream today, which is true. People are burned out on Disney. They don't trust them anymore, whatever brand it happens to be, and they've alienated their audience. So you've got maybe a combination of three factors, which would also include superhero movie fatigue. That might actually be real. I know people have talked about it for a while, but that may now actually be a thing. Don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, really, isn't it? Whether it's superhero fatigue or bad movie fatigue. I still think ultimately people will turn up for a good movie, I think personally, but I think people are burnt out. I stand by what I've said before, is that I think Marvel had the normies, and they had that fear of missing out from normies because they were water cooler movies.
Yeah.
You'd watch it opening weekend, you'd come to the office or to your colleagues, wherever, and you'd discuss it because people didn't want to miss out on that conversation. But you lose the normies really quick. You desensitize them and disenfranchise them really, really quickly. And I think that they've lost the normies. And now they're just left with the fans, the Marvel fans, of the movies. And that's a recipe for disaster when all of your movies are front loaded and then they just die.
Well, I mean, the FOMO factor did kind of promote a lot of the big numbers early, with Marvel, but they had rewatchability. That's the other argument I have. None of these films, I don't know. Are you going to, outside of this film, Tom, can you say what films would inspire you to see them more than once in the last 2 years? Bet you could count them on one hand.
Probably you're right.
I'd like to rewatch Iron Man again. That was about it, really.
This is one I do want to go back and see again. I did have a good experience with it in 3D IMAX.
Oh yeah.
You watch it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hear that the 40 plex theaters or whatever they are, 440, whatever they are, those things are those showings are starting to pick up with these Marvel films quite a bit, especially this one. So a lot of people.
Well, this
that
was
that one.
framed for the whole film in IMAX, unlike some of the other ones where they'll, go in and out of the widescreen.
Which means that that experience is even better because, it was made for that. You don't get a lot of films that are made for IMAX. So,
no. Well, in the first movie, the first two movies utilized it quite well. In this case, though, they just opened it up for the whole movie. Yeah. And even though the movie is dark, I wouldn't say it's as dingy and dark in the visuals.
No,
as some of the last few Marvel movies have been.
No, you're right. I mean, comparing it directly to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania,
which looked like fudge from what people were saying.
Yeah, aesthetically speaking, it's a dark, dingy-looking film.
Well, and it's
hilarious, really.
And with muddied effects and clear delineation between the volume and the foreground. It was so bad.
By volume, you mean the technology, not the actual music.
No, yeah. The technology where they filmed it. It was because that's just a living green screen.
They might have used some volume in Guardians, but if they did, I didn't exactly notice.
They did, but it was all blended. It was all blended.
I mean, like Culture was saying, there were some dodgy effects here and there, but compared to a lot of the other stuff we've gotten out of there, it was all pretty good in my opinion. But I know you guys already discussed that, so
no,
but yeah, the future's not looking too bright for the Marvel Universe right now.
Well, and this okay, and I've been saying this now. I don't know for how long, Tom. Like what 8 or 9 months? I've been saying this is the last swing at $1 billion they got.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, the Marvels. Oh,
Jesus, that's going to bomb hard, really hard. Let's shuffle on just to some super chats before we move on to our next MCU topic, which is, boy howdy, it's a doozy. It really is. You'll see why in a minute. How's your computer there, Tom? You doing all right?
It seems to have caught up with me now.
Yay!
Good. It just needed a warm up.
Big Al Games for £5 says, saw the film last night and loved it. Loved all the dark stuff too. Yeah. Also, Adam saved Star-Lord at the end, so couldn't cut that. He doesn't.
I'll tell you one thing: if you're good with like After Effects, just use the Behold scene. Cut Star-Lord out of that. You can use that instead.
The thing is with that scene, right, and with Adam Warlock, that's plot armor. So, or what is it's a plot device. So they removed, like, where was Star-Lord's helmet?
I guess Gunn answered that, but it's a lame answer.
Yeah, the answer is they needed him not to have it, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so for these things to happen in the movie, so yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, in terms of saying, well, you can't cut Adam from the end of the film, technically speaking. But if you were to rewrite the film, Adam doesn't need to be there at all. Like, there's so much in this film that isn't revolving around Adam Warlock, and he's an unnecessary character. And even like James Gunn has come out and admitted that he felt pressure to include him, and it's like,
I'm not
surprised, dumbass, because you included him already.
Well, I'm assuming those were notes to begin with, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, still, but like, write him into another film. Like, it's not hard.
And I got to assume he did mean to play a bigger role, right? I mean, granted, they didn't get him in there before Infinity War, which he belonged, but this movie clearly changed. No matter what he says, because I think Andre's right. Not to get too deep into spoilers, I think that this was meant to be a Rocket Raccoon series.
Yeah.
And whatever whatever was left over of the remnants of what was supposed to kick off Phase 4, and we got here, because there's still bits and pieces of things that I had heard early on were meant to be in this story, because it was more or less supposed to revolve around the whole idea that he was going to try and get his Gamora back, and at the end he was going to realize that can't happen because the stone is destroyed. But they just kind of buzz through all that stuff in the elevator scene, right? So at this point, it's just getting him to the next level of that point.
Yeah.
Not to get into spoilers, but yes, it does tie up their relationship in this film.
I despite my small nitpicks that I did not enjoy, I still think he did the best he could with what he was given, and he gave us a Phase 3 film.
Well, that and he had to tie up endings. That's what I was getting into. You have a lot of stuff that he had to get in here, clearly. And we only know of maybe one, maybe a couple of other people that might be coming back for sure, but we know of a few that are definitely not coming back. And it has nothing to do with deaths on screen or anything to do with that. It just has to do with
done.
They have flat out said they are done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like when I've heard a lot of people gripe about Gamora being in this movie. It's like, I get it, but they had to tie up that loose end. They had to get it done because she ain't coming back. Yeah. She is a loyalist to James Gunn. So,
and she's also tired of wearing that much makeup.
I don't blame her. I mean, that's what Rebecca Romaine Stamos griped about with X-Men. I mean, she said she was pissing and pooping blue.
Yeah.
And I don't think she was kidding. I think she was being serious.
Let's
the stuff seeps right into your pores. Yeah.
Fuck it out. It's dangerous as well. Like
it is quite
right. Yeah.
You're supposed to leave a certain amount of exposed skin.
Yes.
Because of the semi-permeable membrane of flesh, basically, like it seeps in, and anyway.
Let me put it to you this way: when she did it, she was basically wearing a very skimpy bikini worth of rubber. The rest was paint. By the time they got to J-Law, it's mostly a bodysuit, and just J-Law's head is pretty much the only thing that's painted.
Yeah,
there's some really interesting pictures of her in her disrobed state with blue.
Okay. Gentle Savage for £5 says, Mr. H, who else do you think could have done a good job playing Adam Warlock?
Almost
like I actually quite liked. No, I didn't hate Will Poulter as Adam Warlock.
No.
I hated the characterization written for Will Poulter's Adam Warlock. I actually think he bulked up well. I think he lost a lot of the immaturity aspect that people project onto him because of we've seen him being this sort of baby comedy type, and he bulked up really well.
Yeah, he looked good.
Compared to what we saw him before to now, really, really good. I think, unfortunately, the issues with him as Adam Warlock is a writing problem, and no matter who you get to play that, there's the same problems there. So I really liked Will Poulter as Adam Warlock from an aesthetic perspective. I just think it's poorly written. If you make me give you an answer, which of course I'm going to because you've super chatted it, good sir. There's many people. I mean, you've got the likes of Keanu Reeves is a good one. He's got the hair. He could easily do it. There's a few. I'd go so far as to say even the likes of Mads Mikkelsen, because he's I know, odd pick, I know, but bear with me.
Okay.
Regardless of whether he could bulk up or not, he has that unique look.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Menacing face. And you put him in I don't know, like contacts, or you CG the eyes out. I think aesthetically speaking, and also that screen prowess that Mads Mikkelsen can bring.
Oh yeah.
To do a good Adam Warlock. I mean, I'm trying to think outside the box here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
The only thing I would say is Poulter's a decent actor, but like when I think of I don't know much about Adam Warlock, but what I do know is he's supposed to be like the perfect being or whatever. So like when I would think of that, I would think of along the lines of like, hell, even Henry Cavill. Like that's what I was kind of thinking is something like that, or or a younger Matthew McConaughey or somebody along those lines. And I get you with Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
I get that. That's more in line. But obviously, it had to be a younger.
You need a young
person.
guy.
That's the only thing. Yeah, because obviously it wasn't like the older version. But
you guys are completely right. I was just trying to think outside the box.
Who was Elton John in that film, and he's also in the.
Taron Egerton would have been a good one. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Taron Egerton.
Yes, he would have been right, like perfect. Because that's the thing is, you want somebody who looks.
He is the right aesthetic,
like chiseled and perfected and angelic. If they were gold, like Poulter's a decent actor,
Hollywood
but he looks
look,
puffy
basically.
as hell. I'm sorry, he looks just like Chris Gore. That's what everybody keeps saying because he does kind of look like him in that shot that he's like he's a good actor, but it just, to me, he felt wasted. He felt like a bratty little kid.
Yeah, but that's writing, right? This is the thing.
Again,
That's how he's written.
To me, it's almost like Gunn was having fun with it, but if he really wanted to stick it to Disney, he should have had him die in like the first scene. Like, it would have been hilarious.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Like, there's all this build up for this guy who gets killed right away.
That is true. That is true. We've got Nick joining us now.
Hey.
So we'll chuck Nick in here as we get onto the other super chats. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
I'm in favor of throwing lots of things at Nick. You got something to throw at him? Chuck some
a chill stream.
Yeah,
chill stream at him.
Throw them all at me. Throw them all at me.
Raptor won 10,001 for $5 Canadian dollars and 50 cents. Says, am I the only one who noticed in Guardians 3 the anti-woke message of don't mutilate kids, or am I seeing anti-woke ghosts where there are none?
Andre did.
There were some things in here that were very against message.
There was some things where I could see we could perceive them one way and then realize, oh, it's not exactly that.
Yeah, now you've said it, I can see why you've said it, but I didn't see it when I was watching it.
I did. I saw the thing that I didn't mention in my review because I don't want to turn anybody off.
Andre's been hinting at it ever since he saw it. Yes, he's never. I don't know if he hit on it here when he was on the show. Obviously not, or you would have thought of it sooner. But yeah,
I saw religious messaging too.
Oh, there's lots of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Doug 1985 for $4.99 says Resident Evil always played better outside of the US too. Ugh. That's why we kept getting more of them. The only good thing about those movies, the only good thing about those movies was the outfits, the cast that they got to play, certain female characters, bang on, aesthetically speaking, bang on, and the outfits that they wore was cracking. Olaf Van S for €2 says most normies think wait 1 month and watch on Disney Plus. You are 100% correct. That is another factor when it comes to Disney movies and Marvel movies in general, is the ability just to straight up just watch it on Disney Plus soon. Like, that is a lot that comes through on comments is, I'll just wait for it on Disney. I'll just wait for it on streaming. I'll just wait until it hits here. So that FOMO's gone from that perspective as well. And I will say, ladies and gents, a big shout out to Olaf. He is our moderator here on this podcast, the H Cast. So big shout out to Olaf. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone who just contributed via super chats. It goes a long way. It's fun. It's engaging. It helps us sort of steer the conversation to what you want to talk about as well as we move on to different topics. And now this is one of our last topics when it comes to the MCU, and it's a doozy. Jonathan Majors has appeared via Zoom for the assault case hearing, and he could face up to a year in prison. It's important to note he will not go to prison, but he could. I mean, he could have a 3-year probation term.
Yes,
and that's the likelihood here. Yes. If it will, found guilty. So just as a bit of a background, Jonathan Majors was arrested last month after allegedly assaulting a female companion. He made his first court appearance on Tuesday morning, so today, via Zoom regarding the status of the case. So the conference was reportedly very brief, and the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania star didn't have much to say. The judge discussed the motion filed by Majors' defense team that the prosecution has until May 23rd to respond to. The actor is due to appear in court on June 13th, when a decision will be made regarding said motion. If he fails to turn up, a warrant can be issued for his arrest within 48 hours. He's going to turn up, just as an FYI. That's not going to happen.
I wonder if it's a plea bargain or something.
Yeah, so if Majors is found guilty, he could face up to a year behind bars or 3-year probation term. He won't go to prison, of course. But we do have a statement by his lawyer, Priya Chowdhury, claiming that he's a victim of racial bias.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Jesus.
Fucking race card. We have provided the district attorney with irrefutable evidence that the woman is lying, including video proof showing nothing happened, especially not where she claimed. We did this with the explicit promise from the DA that they would not fix their case and change it as we prove the woman is lying. This is a witch hunt against Jonathan Majors, driven by baseless claims. Instead of dismissing the allegation in the face of the woman's clear lies, the DA has adjusted the charges to match the woman's new lies. To be clear, there are no new charges against Mr. Majors. Right, okay. Now, we have obtained even more video evidence of his innocence, but we are hesitant to share it for fear the DA will tip the woman off and change her story again.
Boy, she's saying this crap in court?
The criminal justice system.
Hold up. This is some major shit. She's making some major accusations here.
It's via deadline, so it's not in court, but it's still, yeah. Huge
okay. I was gonna say she didn't say this in court, did she? She's never gonna say this crap in court.
Provided a written statement to deadline, so it's still pretty bad.
Well, there ain't nothing the court's gonna do about that, but yeah, sorry.
The criminal justice system is saturated with explicit and implicit bias. When Mr. Majors showed a white police officer the injuries the woman caused him, the white officer got in Mr. Majors' face and taunted him, saying that if the officer were to slap Mr. Majors, the officer wouldn't break his finger. What? None of the white officers
I want to see this video.
Investigated the assault of Mr. Majors. Worse, the district attorney has not indicated any intention to pursue charges against the woman or even investigate the truth.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I mean,
there's got to be body cam footage.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, Nick. Yeah.
They go to court. That is investigating the truth in general. Fucking idiots.
And when you're in a court case, there's discovery. So all the evidence out there, anything related, both sides have to have that. Have to hand it over. It's got to be available. They can't just, we're not going to show it just in case. No, they have to. They have to give it to them,
Nick is 100% right. We don't even need a lawyer here to tell you this. Discovery is 100. God. Like, I've seen my cousin Vinny to know this. They have to tell you everything they have. She has to tell the DA everything they have. That this is like a TV show to her. I swear.
Yeah.
she is fucking terrible. Every time she provides a statement to anyone, be it TMZ, Deadline, whoever, it is always truly awful. Truly awful. She is the worst thing, Mr. Majors. Going for this case with Jonathan Majors. He just needs to fucking try to say bloody racial, but oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's literally when you just go, of course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah.
That's your last line of defense there. Yeah.
Then the white police officer thing. Like, really?
Oh man.
Come on.
Oh, I can't believe I literally can't believe they said that. Like a white police officer got in his face. Look, if they did, where's the body cam footage? Where is it? It's so quick to release it when a police officer
this happened in New York.
Someone.
This was in New York, right? So the cops there definitely got body cams.
Oh yeah.
Manhattan district.
Oh yeah. They have to.
Depending on the situation, there may not be audio, but
no, but you'd see the approach.
I don't know any district now that doesn't have body cams. So
yeah.
You'd see the approach.
Yeah.
And also, you'd see the injuries on Mr. Majors. You'd see Mr. Majors showing the injuries, apparently.
And in most cases, because I do watch a lot of police videos, because they're fun.
Yeah, I do too.
In most cases, as soon as they start their investigation, they turn on the audio. In some states, I believe, or counties, depending on where you're at, it only turns on the audio if like their gun is pulled. Or if certain other circumstances are up, but like in most cases nowadays, they have audio and video for any interaction.
There are department regulations that require you to have that on at all time, depending upon the department. And
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I said, it can vary, but yeah.
Most of the ones I've seen, they as soon as they are on a call and their lights go on their car, that body cam comes on, and you actually see them driving to the scene. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You see. You see it all.
Yeah, well, because they're trying to protect themselves from nonsense claims like this now. This whole defund the police bullshit that happened so bloody much.
Look, I watched so many videos, and I found one channel that's like got a lot of videos close by me, so it's hilarious. I'm waiting for somebody I know to show up on there. But it's like I have a newfound respect after a while. I mean, I used to watch cops and stuff back in the day, but watching some of this raw footage, you see some of the crap that cops deal with on a daily basis, and the patience that most. And I'm not saying there ain't bad apples out there, but 90% of the cops I've seen on the job, bless them, they have the patience of saints to deal with some of the crap they deal with.
Yeah, I watch a lot of Long Island, a channel called Long Island Audit, and he does a lot of First Amendment audit videos.
I watch a lot of those audit videos.
Yeah, and he definitely sheds light on bad cops in that, but he gets a lot of the good cops on there that respect people's rights.
Yeah, there's some that are still
stuff.
Whatever, but
I just watched Rambo First Blood last night, and I'm like, oh, all those cops are bad apple cops.
Yeah, look, absolutely unequivocally, there are bad cops for sure. But at the end of the day, we would have got in any instance where that stuff like this happens. Especially, do you remember how quick the director of Black Panther, what's his name? I can't remember. Ryan Coogler. Do you remember he had an incident with the police? They released that body cam footage instantaneously.
Right away.
Yeah, literally right away. I think it was pretty much that day, because he went into a bank trying to take money out or something like that. And the bank teller, I don't know what happened exactly, but there was an incident where then the police were called and they released the body. They released it straight away. And it didn't look good on the cops particularly. It didn't look terrible on them, but it didn't look good either. But they released that straight away, instantaneously. It was the very same day. So why aren't they doing it now?
No.
Where is it? Where's the body cam? If it's so bad, where is it? Release it.
I mean, and to be fair, Coogler's a bit of an activist as well. So I mean, you know.
And the thing is, all of that body cam footage is all public record. Anybody can literally request that body camera footage from the police department from that incident and have it emailed to them.
Yep.
It is public record.
Yep. No, and that's the thing. And the thing, look, I've seen a lot of people who are buying into his lawyer's bullshit. Like, that's the problem here. That's why I freaked out. I'm like, she actually say this shit in court? It's like, if she said this shit in court, that's some pretty salacious claims to be making. No, if it's to the paper, she can say what she wants all day long to the paper. And
she can lie. She can lie to the paper. She can't lie.
But what all that does is get people to believe their side of the story until the end of the day, when it comes out that, look, they're not what I've talked to a couple of officers and former officers about this. In fact, Culture knows one of them I'm talking about, like Mad Mardigan. He's a former police officer. So he too said a lot of the same stuff a lot of the other people said. And that was, when it comes to these kind of cases, especially when a celebrity's involved or somebody who would be considered, a VIP of some type, high profile, whatever you want to consider that, they make sure their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed before any charges are filed. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to have a lawyer who's going to swoop in and be able to take care of most of this crap right away. And not only that, the last thing they need to do is get sued by this individual and, stuff like that, especially if it destroys their career. They're not just going to willy-nilly jump into this, right? I mean, this is nothing like the Johnny Depp case, and that's what people need to understand. The Johnny Depp case was, that was a civil case over
civil
defamation of character, right? This is an actual charges of assault case. Like, this is serious stuff. Like, this is the kind of thing that Ezra Miller has been skating out of for the last 2 years. Okay, let's be clear. Like, this is basically where you put your hands on somebody and you get charges for it. That means there's enough proof or enough witnesses or video evidence that said thing happened. Most likely, again, allegedly. At this point, we still have to say, but cool. We'll see how quickly this case goes.
Shocking. Again, the fact that they did the race card, it pisses me off so much. So, for goodness sake.
To me, that just telegraphs they got nothing. They've got nothing.
That was my first reaction this morning. I mean, again, I covered that part of the story this morning and didn't realize just how much she had to say after that. But in the story I got, I was like, oh my goodness, why go there? Why are you always playing that card? That card gets played when Tom's right. When there's nothing left. There's nothing else there. Nothing left.
It's not a good look.
No.
So we've got some super chats here. Tom Working for sent a super sticker, 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much, my dude. Nice to have you on as well. We got Daniel Lyon Arts for $9.99. Says, back to Resident Evil. Have any of you played the new Resident Evil 4 remake? It is incredible. And if you haven't, Nate, you would love it, since you also enjoyed the Dead Space remake. Highly recommend. Yeah, I haven't had a chance. I haven't even had a chance to continue playing Dead Space yet. It's been hectic. I tried doing something with my car today. It took like 3.5 hours. I haven't even finished it. I split my finger open with a mallet, like a blunt force trauma on my finger. Like the whole skin's just popped open.
Nice.
Oh, mate, it's not good. So I just haven't had a chance. Basically, I will. I want to play it. Have any of you guys played Resident Evil 4? I've heard
I played the original for sure, but I haven't
played the remake. I have very little time right now. I'm trying to wrap up projects, as you know, Nate, and
I'm still trying to get through God of War Ragnarok.
Jesus,
I tried to finish one game before I move on to another one.
Yeah,
and I was gonna do Jedi Survivor, but after seeing what happens in that game, I literally lost interest. In getting it and playing it.
Yeah. Wow. I told you it was going to be bad.
Yeah, which I've heard a lot of people, especially people in our stream Saturday night when I was talking about it, said that they knew what I was talking about, but they've enjoyed it. So I know a lot of people out there like Survivor, but what they do with one of the characters and one of the other ones and one of the tie-ins, I'm just like, oh man, I just can't pay $70 for that.
Heard it here first, guys. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure for $5 says, maybe Jonathan Major's lawyer learned how to practice law from watching She-Hulk.
Yes.
Yeah, the least lawyerish show on TV. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, this is actually quite an accomplished attorney. So this is a very strange tactic. And
well, it's desperation, isn't it?
Well, her husband is Tom was one of the people that discovered this. Her husband is the crisis PR person for Majors.
I brought that up here on the stream.
Yeah, this is crazy.
He's the one that keeps keeps going to TMZ for stuff.
It's just
fucking
crazy.
Idiot, absolute moron. So let's move on now to something absolutely hilarious, which is the first reactions to The Little Mermaid. Now, this is not only just the first reactions, but also some reviews. So, like we love to do here on this channel, we're gonna have to take a good old look at Grace Randall's snippet of a review. Not the whole review. Not the whole review.
Crack house.
I know. I'm not gonna. That one. That's brilliant. I'm not gonna make you suffer through the whole review. All right, I'm not. This was shared by Bleeding Fool over on Twitter, and I saw it, and I like Bleeding Fool. I don't know anything about them, but they share my stuff every now and then. And to me,
they follow
they're good.
me,
Yeah, they're good dudes, or whatever they are. Who cares? But they're good, and they shared this, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what? That's brilliant. So if I were you, ladies and gents, give Bleeding Fool, not Bleeding Cool, Bleeding Fool, a follow over on Twitter and tell them H sent you from the H Cast. But we're going to take a look at Grace Randall, the thing that they shared, because it's absolute gold. This is 2 minutes, and it says it all. Over to you. Let's play it.
You got it.
There is absolutely nothing to hate about this movie. Absolutely nothing. If anyone hates on it, again, that's a commentary on themselves. As for race-bending Ariel, I continue to stand by my comments that you can't have all these Caribbean musical numbers and a white Ariel. Here, they did shoot in Italy. All over the end credits, they're like, we're in Sardinia. And I'm like, it must be very pretty there. And I wish they hadn't done that because it's going to give fuel to the haters. That really sucks. But anyway, maybe they wanted like the fairy tale element to the wide shots of the castle. But I mean, it's clearly in a Caribbean setting. It's like, again, as I said, Jack Sparrow could wander into this movie and he would totally fit. But come on, there are steel drums, loved them. And while the aristocrats in Eric's kingdom talk with a British accent, Trinidad was a British colony from 1889 to 1962, But a lot of the people, not the aristocrats, but the regular people of Eric's kingdom, they speak with a Trinidad accent, just like Sebastian does. So it would be ridiculous for a white Ariel to be in this environment. And truth be told, there are many moments when watching the movie where one has to wonder why Eric is still white instead of Black or Latino, especially when the Queen is Black. It's sort of explained. There's kind of a mystery there, which they never really solve, maybe in a sequel. But also, after I was watching, I'd say maybe 2/3 in, I was like, this is interesting because by keeping Eric white, you're kind of underscoring that a human and a mermaid's romance has similarities to an interracial romance. So I do think that tracks. I think that tracks. But you know what? These things are all very subtle points. This is not a preachy movie whatsoever. It is there to entertain and sweep you off your feet, to remind you of the 1989 classic, but also bring you that Disney magic in its own right. So again, there is nothing to hate about this movie. You'd have to work at hating it. But unfortunately, we know that some people will. But it's engineered to be a crowd pleaser, and I think it is.
Fucking racist.
Wow.
Racist Randolph. Having a white dude with a mermaid, that's the equivalent of an interracial relationship. Fucking Grace Randolph, could you be any more racist, you fucking dipshit? Unbelievable.
The thing is, realistically speaking, like Ariel is a mermaid that lives under the sea. There's very little sunlight down there. Anybody who's seen like cave people, monster movies, or actual real life creatures deep into the sea, they're like translucent or white, or there's very little dark pigmentation down there. It doesn't make sense that somebody that lives deep under the sea would be black.
Oh man,
this is literally a virtue signal and race swap to just pander to that crowd, I guess.
I cannot believe she drew a fucking comparison. This is just going to be a segment in and unto itself on the clip channel. It has to be. She drew a comparison of an interracial relationship between a white dude and a mermaid.
Yeah.
Well, newsflash, it's already interspecies, but hey.
But that's how she sees it. That's how she sees an interracial relationship. Cross species, apparently, according to Grace Randolph.
Which isn't even part of the story. Because the whole point of it is that she is passing off as a human. The only problem is she can't speak.
Wow.
I love and the thing that stuck out to me is how with certain things she was saying during the review. There is nothing bad about this movie. That is the most bullshit. Bullshit fucking thing I've ever heard about a movie in my life. No, there's no movie that's that perfect outside of Jaws.
Yeah. Or Terminator 2.
I am genuinely speechless. Like genuinely.
No, this is a rarity. Like you cannot tell me that a remake like this, being almost an hour and just under an hour longer than the original, mind you, doesn't have some problems. Okay, I shared it in the back, and I know you probably can't show it here. I've seen 2 of the clips from the music scenes now. They make me want to barf.
The water VFX are horrendous.
It's all CGI. Even the people parts. Like, I don't even think she's real.
No, it's awful. It's really bad.
And the voice they got for Sebastian, oh my God. That's my favorite character from the original.
Flounder looks like a dead fish.
Yeah, Flounder looks like a dead fish.
You've got to try and hate this, all right? And apparently,
no, I don't have to try too hard.
The fact that they filmed it in Italy is just going to give fuel to the haters. What's wrong with Italy, Grace? What are you on about? No one's going to look at that and go, "Well, they filmed it in Italy." Fuck it.
Hate it.
What is she? She's. I love this recurring segment. What dumb thing Grace said.
She must be on crack or something.
Massively.
Comparing the interspecies to interracial is
that's outrageous.
And she sees the world just through a very strange lens. That's probably the nicest way to say it.
It's all that fucking makeup she's got on her eyeballs.
Yeah, it's weighing her brain down.
I don't know.
No, that's her waft of hair.
What I don't understand is why
her
she's
pencil
still
neck that's about to tipple over. I'm sorry, she drives me nuts.
Well, she still sounds like she's from a deep burrow somewhere in New York or something, wherever that accent comes from. Because
she's a demon straight out of hell, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, okay. Well,
she's insane. She's absolutely insane.
I mean, there's a lot of problems with this film, and Tom pointed out, this story was told very completely in a very short period of time, and making it bigger and longer is not, it's not going to improve it. And
how do you expand it that much? That's my question.
I don't know. I don't know. And instead of this being a wonderful relationship between two beings, in the end of the day, it is now a I don't need a man story. And if you look at the poster, compare the poster from the original film, the animated classic, to the poster that is for this film. Is front and center and solo is the Little Mermaid, in this case Ariel, and Eric is buried off in the top right corner behind lots of other layers. It is anyway. There's a lot.
Well, let's take a look at some super chats before we take a look at the actual first reactions, because again, this segment of Grace is absolutely gold. I love it. It's gold dust. But let's take a look at some super chats, and then we'll look at the first reactions as a whole, because they are, they're interesting. Actually, they are interesting.
So let's see what the audience has to say.
So Tom working for $10 says Ezra Miller, Kevin Spacey, and whoever. Scientology rape trial happening, and no one has significantly reported on it. That 70s show hide guy Danny Masterson, small screen but wide implications. I didn't even know this was a thing. What?
Oh yeah,
well, Masterson didn't. He's got a new trial, but he won the first one.
He didn't win. He didn't win,
but
it was a hung jury.
Hung jury. That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And I knew where you were going with that, Tom. But yeah, I mean, and Tom, I mean, there's a lot of smoke to this fire. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going at it again.
Maybe not. Well, Spacey. The only time anybody's going to get Spacey is if he doesn't get loose ends first.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Well,
I don't want to die in my sleep, Mr. Spacey. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of Arkanside going on around Spacey.
It's a very Tom Working says, Tom Cruise.
That's new. I've never heard about that one. That's news to me. All right.
$2.
Tom Cruise may not be tied up with them for very much longer. We'll have to see.
He's distanced himself from Scientology a lot, actually. Like, he used to be very, very on it, but he's definitely Tom Working for $5 says, this person is not an advocate all over the place. If she supported my efforts in the face of criticism, I'd say nope. Yeah, Grace is it's being kind to say she's insane. Like, that's utter delusion.
Yeah,
absolute utter delusion.
But she twists herself up in very strange ways to try to pander and live within the message. And I mean, but I wish I could pretend. I wish I could pretend that you don't see that reflected in other areas of news gathering and reporting. But
yeah, true.
You do, and she's just very bad at it. I don't know what she's like trying to get somebody to like hire her for a real job.
Yeah, but I think she did work for.
She did like promotions or something for Marvel. I don't remember. Tom, do you remember what that was?
I think something along those lines. And I don't even think she worked there that long.
But that's like claim to fame, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah, she has what she claims as sources, but she's got what I would say are some of the world's worst sources. I mean, James Gunn has beat the hell out of her on Twitter for the last year. Like, it's getting to the point where it's like, he does one more time and be like, dude, she's clearly not all there mentally. You need to stop because this is like kicking, kicking, kicking like a kid with Down syndrome or something. Like, no, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Like, I don't even understand how she still got a career. Like, if I had that many bad takes.
She's taking one L after another. Mario movie. Now this is just
that's just in the last month, dude.
Yeah. I mean, this goes back for years.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I think Nate's right. I think the Grace segment's going to be a regular thing.
I love it. It's so funny. It's so funny. Tom
I'm starting to feel bad making fun of her at this point. But
I don't care. It's brilliant. Makes great clips anyway. Tom working for $2 says interspecies, like God intended. KN Kareen for $4.99 says, oh my God, Trini accent. Who said Disney, not Trini accent, no Caribbean peeps? BS.
Oh, Kareen. Yeah, you might know. I don't know much about that stuff, but like I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. The whole Trinidad and the British colonies and
and then she said something about Eric, and it's like, well, first of all, wasn't he on a boat anyway when he showed up in the harbor? Like, he's not even from there. Like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Isn't it? I mean, and didn't all the sea creatures have different accents? I mean,
they all did. Sebastian is the only one who had a career.
And that was anthropomorphizing, like, and giving it like a special like separation between him and the other characters.
I mean, her father had like a British accent, for Pete's sake. I mean, or at least a proper, like, he's all like,
my father is Poseidon, so it's nonsense.
He's King Triton in the.
Oh, is it King Triton? I thought it was Poseidon.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Tom working for $5 says interspecies. Hold on, looking it up. Nope. No, I'm not sake.
No, that's one thing they can't legally allow on Pornhub, Tom. I'm sorry. Sorry, I guess.
Kareen $1.99 says she's from New York, but we don't claim her.
There you go.
Love it. Tom working for $2 says hung jury because a feckless jury member.
Yep.
I don't know anything about that case.
Comment.
I
don't know enough to comment on it.
Hung jury in what way? Like one person?
Yeah, they
didn't say innocent, or the other way around.
They had a holdout on the jury that was
it was all guilty except for one, or
that's
okay.
Reported.
That's bad. Yeah.
But there's enough smoke to this fire that their round 2 of prosecution is underway. So, yep. And we're looking, man, I can't even believe this. Super Mario Brothers. Sorry, I have to bring it back to Grace. Super Mario Brothers made it to its 5th Friday, by the way.
She wasn't going to make it till Friday. Well, which one?
Doing rather well. It did rather well. This last Friday, it made $4,260,000 in theaters domestically. So it's doing all right on Fridays still, Grace. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
God damn. D for 10, I think they're Australian dollars, says Grace is a psyop.
Yes.
Although psyops are normally attractive, in fairness, but all right.
Yeah, just ask that one intelligence committee guy that fell for Fang Fang, the Chinese spy. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. So guys, let's take a look now at the actual first reactions of The Little Mermaid. Oh, fuck these bloody pop-ups.
It's a triumph. There's absolutely nothing to hate about it.
No, well, so that's what I thought, and then some were being
know.
oddly honest, actually, which speaks volumes, because that the fact that they were being honest, I mean, it speaks volumes. They're not normally honest like that. So, The Little Mermaid is a live-action remake that retains the heart and soul of the story we know and love, and it's elevated even further by a note-perfect star-making performance from Halle Bailey, who was born to be on the big screen, and she's why this new take is worth watching. All right. That again, there's a lot of what you expect, but I'll chime in on the ones which are hilariously dumb, and there's a lot of them. Eric Davies says, Disney's The Little Mermaid is definitely one of the better live-action adaptations. It's not saying much. Halle Bailey pours incredible emotion into Ariel, and I got chills watching her. while Melissa McCarthy's Ursula and David Diggs' Sebastian steal scenes all day. The Little Mermaid is a tribute to all little girls to dream big. Halle Bailey is sheer magic, and David Diggs is a delight as Sebastian. This is a fucking awful picture to use.
Well,
it is horrendous.
Keep going.
So bad. Oh yeah, this is hilarious.
Yes.
The Little Mermaid, charming but incredibly spotty. Halle Bailey, Jonah Howard King, Melissa McCarthy, and Javier Bardem put their heart and souls into a film that can't escape its animated legacy.
Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. But when it leans into campy bonkers, yet limits its fantasy elements for no reasons. When it leans into campy bonkers, yet limits its fantasy elements for no reason.
So that is okay. Let me interpret that. Let me interpret that for a moment, though. What that means is that the added stuff that we were asking earlier means they added a bunch of bullshit stuff to this movie that makes no sense, probably. Because, like she just said here, when it limits its fantasy elements
for no reason. But it's a Little Mermaid. The whole thing's fantasy. Why are you limiting it?
Yeah,
what on earth?
It sounds like I hate saying it, but it just sounds like a campy version of the movie, of the cartoon, probably.
Yeah. And then we had this. God, terrible. From Germaine Lucier. Says, it's real simple. Are you excited for The Little Mermaid? You'll like it. It's exactly what you think it is. Are you skeptical and worried about it? That's valid too. It looks weird and disjointed. Bailey is great.
What the fuck?
I know. I know. McCarthy rules. The songs work, but it just feels so unnecessary. Well, that's because, Jermaine, all the live action remakes are fucking cash grabs. So they're all unnecessary. You absolute idiot. Like, your Access Media shill dumbass can't even conjure up the conviction to say that. I mean, come on.
Do one thing for me. Take out "you'll like it" out of that sentence.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think. Yeah,
it's real simple. Are you excited for The Little Mermaid? It's exactly what you think it is. Are you skeptical and worried about it? That's valid too. It looks weird and disjointed. Yes, we've seen that in the janky videos that we've seen. The Kiss the Girl video that came out during the MTV Movie Awards. You can't see anything.
Fuck it out.
You have to like squint and try to make out what's going on because it's so dark and dingy looking. And then like the shot I just sent you guys with the under the sea business. It's bright, but it looks fake as hell.
It's bad. It's real bad. The whole thing.
It doesn't have any of the charm at all. Like there's no charm in it at all. It feels sterile.
Well, someone comments on the VFX, the water VFX, right? Endearing but uneven. Yeah. So Simon says, endearing but uneven. The Little Mermaid doesn't deliver the magic of the animated classic, but there are plenty of creative touches from Rob Marshall to float the audience's boats. Halle Bailey and Melissa McCarthy are great. David Diggs and Awkwafina provide solid comic relief. And this is the real bad one from Matt Neglia. It may look visually rough under the sea. A fucking mermaid film looks bad under the sea. That's got to be the majority of the film, isn't it? Or at least a large portion.
Yeah, definitely.
First half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So you got to sit there and watch absolute trash. Fucking hell. But The Little Mermaid eventually recreates some of the original's magic through its timeless story and cast. David Diggs and Melissa McCarthy are highlights, but Halle Bailey is the one astonishes with her gorgeous singing and empathetic charm. And then we have this. The Little Mermaid makes it pretty close to being the best live-action Disney movie. However, it still struggles in the villain department. Halle Bailey is Ariel, and I had literal chills throughout her performance. This is a Little Mermaid retelling like you've never seen before. That's because this is the only Little Mermaid retelling.
But we have seen this before.
Well, yeah, the first one. Goodness me. And then again, yeah, the usual thing. The Little Mermaid is the best Disney live-action adaptation to date. Halle Bailey is Ariel. Major props to the sound effects team. Good changes, though one new song with too much auto-tune. Could watch this version's Under the Sea all day. It was the highlight of the whole thing.
I'm just waiting to see the comment of this movie was stunning and brave. Like, I know it's coming. It's out there somewhere.
I watched a minute. I watched a minute of Under the Sea. If that's the highlight, this movie's in fucking trouble. Big trouble.
It wasn't made for us, Tom. It wasn't made for us.
True. You bunch
Technically,
of
it kind of was.
Well, you have this. This is the be all and end all. The Little Mermaid is fantastic. Rob Marshall's great direction gives us one of Disney's best live action remakes and a joyful theatrical experience. Halle Bailey is perfect as Ariel and is the heart of the movie. It's an enchanting journey under the sea. I can't wait to rewatch. Right, general thoughts. Let's go.
Well, just to go off of what Nick just said, it is kind of made for us, at least in the sense that this was my last Disney movie. Like this was my last movie when I was a kid. It was a Disney movie. After that, by the time Aladdin and stuff like that had come out, I was already getting to be a teenager. So this was the last Disney movie to come out when I was a kid. So this is, when you say this isn't made for me, I say, yeah, technically it was. This is my era is Disney. And I think you're around the same age as me, Nick. So,
yeah. I had two sisters, and of course, we only had one TV in the house in that day and age, and so yeah, I was forced to watch it a lot of times.
Well, I actually enjoyed it. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I liked it.
Even if the main character was a girl, that didn't matter to me then.
Yeah.
I loved the music. Without even knowing it then, it was the same guys who did Little Shop of Horrors, which I was also a fan of.
Yeah. Oh, my dad hated that movie because I'd watch it over and over, and he's like, "Oh, this again."
But yeah, no, I'm very disappointed by this. Not that it's just that it exists in general. I wouldn't care who it was. If it was a white girl, a Hispanic girl.
You guys think this is going to shock us, like box office wise, like Avatar 2 did?
I have been kind of saying that this is the thing with these remakes. They all make $1 billion. They all have. So I won't be surprised when this one does too. Because this has one of the bigger soundtracks of them all too. Look like you do. You can look at. I mean, all like that you want, Culture.
It's not going to make.
I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. The only reason I think you might be right now is because of Guardians.
Yep. Nobody trusts Disney. It doesn't matter if it's Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. People are coming around to the idea that Disney is not a good company anymore. They're not a family company. You know, look, I'm sorry. That's I'm not going to. I will not see Little Mermaid. I won't see it.
Yeah, same.
Unless what if I make you for the channel?
Fudge. Unless Mr.
I won't make you because I don't know whether I'm gonna be able to put myself through that in the theater either.
Yeah,
like genuinely, like yeah, I don't know whether I'm gonna be able to watch it.
It's not even worth. It's not even worth the review. I mean, you know,
I tried to watch most of the things that the majority of the things we talk about, 99% of them I will absolutely watch because I feel it's incredibly important if you're commenting on this stuff to go out and watch it as well, especially keeping up to track, keeping up to date on what the industry is when you're talking about the industry as a whole. But fucking hell, this Jesus, like I don't know if I can bring myself to watch this. There's a lot that I bring myself to watch, but this I don't know if I can.
I mean, honestly, Nate, I would if it wasn't for the length. Right? Like, there's
how long is it then? How long
it's over 2 hours. That I know.
Yeah, no, that's if it was an hour and a half, I would consider it. Maybe over 2 hours. Nah, definitely not. Nah.
Says exactly 2 hours here.
Oh,
Culture, I think, makes a good
I got another one
though
that says 2 hours and 15 minutes. So sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Culture does make a good point on more and more people are waking up to Disney shenanigans and kind of canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, not going and seeing their movies, not going to the theme park.
Yep.
Because in my personal life, I've literally have seen people that and have talked to friends and acquaintances of mine that are like, yeah, I'm kind of done with all the Disney stuff, not paying for it anymore, that sort of thing. So yeah, if this thing makes $1 billion, I'll be shocked. Honestly, I will be.
I can't see how it will. Disney's alienated their audience. I mean, Nick is speaking the facts. You're watching Disney roll back a bunch of policies that they were desperately trying to keep in place for their theme park experiences. They've reintroduced the idea of having dining plans and things like that, which they were trying to eliminate as well. They've rolled back a lot of the perks that they eliminated and are trying to bring them back. They're all in an effort to retain or recover guests that they've lost to baloney. I mean, and that's why, Universal's stealing their market share, but it's not just in the, it's not just there. It's not just in the films. It's also in the television products. It's also in their cable channels. I mean, yes, cable and satellite are slowly losing ground. That's true, but Disney's losing ground faster, and they have been for quite some time. And Disney Plus has not been the win that they were hoping for. And like I said, you can't trust them. You really can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are right. Like, and again, Nick, you anecdotally, culture, you're saying it as well. But I think generally speaking, we see that. We see the disinterest from people, the disenfranchisement of people from Disney as a whole. I think that's definitely a thing. They've ramped up their marketing for the parks as well in the UK. Very specific, tailored ads to the UK, but they're almost like it's like some like random weird deals that I've seen advertised now, like over on YouTube and things like, again, YouTube adverts for the Disney parks. So I think they know it as well. But in terms of this making $1 billion, I don't know. I don't see it personally. Like, I keep looking at it. I'm like, how is this movie ever going to make that much money? You've pigeonholed yourself into a tiny market share. Tiny market share, which is young women, young girls. I can't see that being a huge success. Now, ordinarily, people would go, well, yeah, like never underestimate the power of screaming young children. Yeah. Normally young girls, when it's screaming towards like some weird Twinkie boy that they love, right? Like we say about this with Timothy Chalamet. This Ariel, Little Mermaid, no, I don't see it. I think we can underestimate that. Well, it won't be an underestimation. I think we can estimate that probably won't do massively well because they've just
they're not expecting it to perform well. Even they aren't, based on their own internal projections. I mean, again, we visited this subject before. They're anticipating what, 70 to 90 million opening weekend on Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
very low.
Good.
Wow, that's less than Guardian.
Yeah. Yeah, and that film's not going to make $1 billion. I don't know. I don't think it's going to have a good hold. It has competition coming in almost right away.
Well, so go into what Tom. Sorry to interrupt, but go into what you said, Tom. So you said about all these movies hitting $1 billion, right? How many of those movies were out pre-Disney Plus? Because I think that actually matters. Because I bet you anything, the majority of them would have been out pre-Disney Plus. And a lot of them, the ones which have now seen the steady decline, would have been released during Disney Plus's, sort of release and it being pushed into the forefront of Disney's, how they market and distribute their products now. Do you know what was released pre-Disney Plus or afterwards? Or is Tom dead? Is he gone?
I think he died.
Oh, he's dead.
That's a good question, though.
It is a good question. I would suspect. Okay, so we got Disney Plus in 2019.
Why is there two Tom Connors?
Hi, Tom.
Because my PC froze.
Oh.
Did you hear what Nate was saying?
Part of it. As far as like them being released with Disney Plus being out. I don't know.
So Disney Plus.
Mulan is the only one we really
November
have to go
12th,
on by, but that's not a very good one, really.
No.
Well, no,
Aladdin
but we do.
Still did well.
But was that pre-Disney Plus?
No, Mulan was right during smack dab in the middle or beginning of Disney Plus.
Mulan was, but I think Aladdin came out after Disney Plus as well.
Did it?
I think so. And this one again with Aladdin, same kind of thing. The soundtrack.
I could have sworn Aladdin was pre-Disney Plus.
I think, yeah, the live action Aladdin.
Yeah, because it was pre. Yeah,
that's when people liked Will Smith still.
Well, I
just say don't underestimate these damn things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, look, I respect you, dude. It wouldn't surprise me if you're right. Actually, it would surprise me if you're right, but because of you said it, it might not be as big a surprise.
Look, first of all, everybody hated that Beauty and the Beast remake. Still made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's even people in our community who will tell you how bad Disney is. It's this, it's that, it's the other. But there's still some of the same ones that go to the theme park every weekend.
Yeah, that is true, actually. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah,
it's right. There are Diz nerds who just cannot. It's like a drug. They can't turn it off, regardless of how they know what it's doing to them. They know what Disney's doing. They know all these things. I mean, even all of us here on this panel are technically guilty because we went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy last weekend.
I didn't.
Well, I guess you lucked out on that, Nick. But at the same time, I'm sure you got Disney Plus. You do a lot of Star Wars stuff. So it's just, in that sense, look, we have certain excuses and reasons why, but at the same time, there's certain people who I see come into our chats all the time and say the same kind of things. And like, yes, to a point, it is possible to cut Disney out of your life for the most part, but at the same time, it's not. Like, they are so embedded in everything. It's almost like trying to say, well, get Walmart out of your life or get Amazon out of your life. It's like, it's not as easy. It's easier said than done in certain cases. No,
because they own ABC, ESPN.
Exactly. How many radio stations and everything?
So much stuff.
Yeah. I look, and not to offer it up as an excuse, but it is a little different when we're here trying to give well-informed opinions and intelligent conversation around these things if we haven't seen them. Oftentimes I consider it taking the hit. I will take the hit so you don't have to. And to be fair, I mean, if I weren't doing this, if I were not doing YouTube, if for whatever reason, right, I probably wouldn't have seen Guardians of the Galaxy this last weekend. I probably wouldn't have seen a lot of films that I've seen. I mean, I've been turned off by Disney. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Star Wars or something animated. They've literally destroyed my opinion of their brand.
Oh yeah, a lot of people feel that way for sure.
Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah, and
let's get us some super chats before we shuffle on. So we've got Tom working for $20, continuing the Danny Masterson thing. So it says a jury member had a son convicted of SA. I've got to say that. He was also a proxy for Scientology. He didn't not have connection.
Yep.
Hung jury and blown trial. The current trial of Danny Masterson doesn't have that issue.
Nope.
But that'll be interesting then to see how it comes around then. That sounds more like it lean to the
I think
side, I guess.
I think he will. I think he'll be convicted.
Yeah.
I think
again, I don't know enough about it to fully comment on it, so I am sorry. I mean, thank you so much for the super chat, Tom. I don't know enough about to comment on it, but I mean, it's still good that you're super chatting to get people attention to it, because I didn't even know it was going on. So I'm sure there's many other people that are like, what? So thank you.
Unlike Ezra, though, he's also not in the 90s show either. Like, Ezra's still technically in the movie. I mean, as of now, I mean, I don't know of anything he's working on, but
it was so bad when the accusations came out that he was removed from the show The Ranch.
Yeah,
with his buddy
Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, Ashton Kutcher. Yeah.
By the way, Sam Elliott was in that show, and Sam Elliott's awesome. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Tiger Valley for 14 something says this film is making me want to rewatch the original. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Zardoz. Zardoz with Sean Connery.
Don't fucking make stuff up.
What country is that from?
Oh, God. Tom working for $5 says, is anyone else still trying hard not to say Halle Berry? Not a good start, yo. Yeah, people always do that. When
I had a mini
say
rant
Halle
on
Bailey.
this about all these new up and coming singers, actors, what have you, just basically stealing the name of older celebrities. I mean, look at like Michael B. Jordan is another great example. Right? For how long did we have to say that and then be like, Michael Jordan, you mean the best? No, not him. It's an actor with a similar name.
That's true, yeah.
I'm getting so sick of this. Even Michael J. Fox changed his name because there was another actor named Mike Fox. At least he tried to make it a little bit more different even then.
Yeah.
But even that's still kind of too close. But like, it's getting sickening because you got like, and then you got other crap like Aquafina, which is another one that bothers me. It's like,
that was a stage name, in fairness.
I get it, but still, it's just dumb. And then you got the ones who are so bad where they just add like Little Nas and shit like that. It's like,
yeah, fuck's sake. You're completely right with that one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Michael Keaton's real name ain't Michael Keaton. For those who don't know,
need Bruce.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas.
Really?
Yeah, and obviously he had to change his name for obvious reasons. Yeah.
Well, Bruce Willis changed his name, didn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember what Bruce's original name was, but yeah.
Tom working for $5 says, rolling on floor laughing, Disney was never a family company. Also, that means different things era to era. Yes, you are. Well,
it started off that way.
Yeah, they always tried to be, I guess. Well, they tried to market for that, but yeah, you are right. And it does mean different things era to era. I mean, the dilution of sort of family elements now has kind of gone a bit insane, to be honest, but it's a shame. It's a shame. Nikki for $5, nice to have you on, says Little Mermaid was one of the only Disney movies I liked as a kid. A remake looks like Little Mermaid in the Snyderverse. Doesn't even have red hair. Yeah,
my favorite comment in all of those shilly things that you were going through on the Hollywood Reporter was that it looks a bit rough under the water. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm waiting for Sebastian to crawl up and go, Ariel, do you bleed?
Or Aquaman to show up.
I'd like him to say, I'm the captain now.
Sorry, what was that culture?
I want him to go up to Ariel and say, I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain now.
So funny.
That's not even a Zack Snyder movie.
Tom working for $2 says Disney is in the business of manufacturing audience.
Now, yeah. And they're doing a
well,
job of it.
There would be an argument to be made up through the first portion of the Eisner era. Disney did have that market cornered as far as family entertainment. The only time they ever had any real competition in the earlier, any part of those years would have been in the 80s when Don Bluth broke away.
Yep.
And he gave them a run for their money. It's really reminiscent of what we're seeing now with Universal giving them a run for their money.
Skydance about to give them a run for them.
Because you had like Secret of Nim and Land Before Time and An American Tale all just kicked the crap out of Disney films in the 80s. It wasn't until The Little Mermaid.
Yep.
Yes, that was
when Disney reclaimed their throne. Yep. People forget how big of a movie that was too at the time.
Yeah, Eisner worked hard. I think it made $84 million at the box office.
It did more than that. It did over 200-some million.
Did it really?
Yeah,
that's crazy money back.
The only movie they had bigger than that at the time was Roger Rabbit.
Was that? Why am I remembering?
That was their highest grossing film until I think Beauty was either Beauty. I think it was Beauty and the Beast or Lion King. One of the two. Probably Lion King.
Batter SSL for $5 says, do you guys think that by the time the Gunverse gets going, do you think comic book movies will still be relevant? Well, this is an interesting question. I mean, obviously, all the questions have been interesting. But this is an interesting one because, of course, like if Guardians flops, which, again, his data set looks like it has a strong potential to do that, will David Zaslav be regretting his decision? And again, by the time it gets going, which is like 2025, is that when Superman Legacy comes out? 2025. I mean, will they be relevant by then? they're slowly losing relevancy, but
Yeah.
by that, by that sort of having that sort of decline does leave the door open for someone to come in and reignite it. But is Gunn and his Superman legacy the right, match to the flame, so to speak? Is that the right fuel to reignite it?
I feel better about him taking on Superman after seeing Guardians 3. Although I was already
God, I don't.
I do, but that's my personal. Because to me,
why? What about Guardians makes you think that he?
Because it showed that he could. Because everybody was like, "Oh, he can only do funny. He can only do funny. He can only do funny." It's like, well, you've clearly not seen Super or some of his other films. But that being said, he took what was already, notoriously probably the funniest of the Marvel films. And, by the time you get to the end of the second film, I was bawling my brains out. At the he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy scene. I mean, that got me. And then this film, I didn't go into sobbing territory, but the whole theater I was in was crying through the last half of the movie almost. Like, it was insane. So I'm like, this guy knows how to manipulate an audience. That is more important than a lot of things. That is why James Cameron, Kubrick, certain Scorsese's another one of these guys, Tarantino. There's certain directors who know how to just grab you and pull you along. And you don't even sometimes question some of the shit, but until you get to the other end of the movie. Now, granted, you, Nate, did not have the experience a lot of us did with Guardians 3. And I'll admit, it's not as good as the first two. No. It clearly has some issues. It's wearing the weight of all these notes and problems that the studio put on it. The fact that it has to finish up all these storylines. It's Gunn's, adios amigo to the MCU. I have a feeling that I feel better now about him taking over DC than I have in a long time. Because I feel like he's going to take this seriously. I think he knows the weight that it is, the pressure that it is. And I've seen some interviews where even though he has said some stupid shit here and there online, one thing that he has said that I think that he's smart is he said he's not going to be political anymore. He has learned his lesson.
Good. Well,
he has said flat out, it is not a good idea to be political because it just divides people. And have you not noticed he has not said anything political in the last at least year or more? So I hope
that's true.
I hope that he knows, and all the stuff he's posting on Superman, it's Donner stuff, a lot of Alex Ross art.
Yeah,
it's very sort of legacy. Well,
exactly.
Legacy,
so I'm hoping what we get feels like what everybody imagines Superman to be. Could be wrong, but I'm hoping it's decent.
Well, so. It makes me feel good that it's the Ross art that's getting posted.
That and the Donner stuff, right? Because he clearly gets what I mean. I'm not expecting it to be Donner Ray Do, right? We've already gotten that with Bryan Singer's Superman Returns,
right?
But I want something that's in the spirit of that, and I think that's what he's going for.
It's going to be hard because he's picked a really weird period of time with a
well, not to get too off topic from the super chat, but do we think that they will still be relevant at that time?
Well, that's a good question, and what point I was going to get to was, okay, we have the writer's strike right now, which is basically bringing every Marvel project to a screeching halt.
Well, Blade was canceled.
Blade has it been canceled, or is it just?
Well, it's postponed, but that
I say postponed.
Anyway.
And last we heard the Avengers movie hadn't even started yet writing yet. So the only movies and shows that are done are like Loki season 2 and a couple other things. Marvel's obviously. I don't know if there's any movies. Agatha's done. I think there's a couple series done, but after Marvel's, I don't think there's any movies done. That's my point I was going to get to. Yeah. So we're going to have a gap here of 2-3 years between now and whatever Marvel comes up with next. And then also same thing with DC. The only movies we got coming out between now and then is Aquaman and Blue Beetle and Joker. And Joker's an also Rand anyway. So
they're in so much trouble. They're in so much trouble.
You will get a gap. I think that might work in the favor. Now, it's not going to be a very big gap, but to the way the world is now, it's going to feel like it. It's going to be almost like a whole year without superhero movies. 2024 is going to be the year that's devoid of a ton of superhero movies. But we'll see how that affects it. Yeah.
What I was going to say, so on that note, do we think that will be positive or negative? Because for the likes of, say, China, it proved to be an incredibly negative element for them. They came back to, watching Marvel movies, and they were incredibly disinterested as a result of the hiatus that Marvel had in China. So do you think that although it's a different form of a hiatus, right? It's a break. There's not still being made, and we're just not getting, to watch them like China did. But will that hiatus make people their interest, divert to something else? Maybe.
Let me use a restaurant as an analogy real quick. It is better to run out of meat and have to close down for a little bit and wait for the meat to come back in to open up your business because business is booming, than it is to close down and try and revamp it, which is ostensibly what's going to happen on the MCU front in this case. This is the one time where I think that, like I was saying, the gap is going to help a lot of people go, oh yeah, it's been a while since I've seen, oh yeah, Deadpool 3 is supposed to be here. I thought that is 2024. I thought it was the end of this year. You're right, it is 2024. Thank you. So outside of Deadpool, which again is also kind of an also-ran of sorts, if you look at it that way, it's not directly tied into anything else. I think that people will have to see how they feel on the other end of this. What James Gunn will have going for him, and he'll be lucky, is if come summer 2025, we have been that far removed from a bunch of DC stuff and Marvel stuff that people will be like, you know what? A fun Superman movie sounds good right now. Then again, it could fall flat on its face. So
I don't see superhero films lasting much longer regardless. Writer's strike or no. I think that they are well on their way out. I think Hollywood has seen diminishing returns for too long. The magic in a bottle that they thought, or the lightning in a bottle they thought they had caught, they did not. And in fact, they squandered it. Again, with a lot of messaging and other things that people weren't interested in. People like good and evil. They like hero stories, and Disney and many of the other companies don't know how to write a villain anymore because they just identify with them, which is a real problem. And they're not wrong. They are the villains. They want people to like them for being the villains that they are, and nobody does. Regardless, taking a pause might help, but I doubt it. I think Tom's right. I think it's over, and I think the Marvels is going to close the book rather quickly on that, and I think that maybe we don't get a lot of things that were announced in the MCU. I think maybe Disney quietly sets the MCU down to maybe one film a year, maybe two, maybe one series a year on Disney Plus, maybe two. We'll see. Will they learn that lesson? They usually are the last to learn. They're the last to turn it around.
For sure.
They have to fail. I mean, Tom brings up the story all the time. They have to be damn near failure before they pivot to a different direction. It took two coups by Roy O. Disney in the form of Eisner and then in the form of Iger to get the company to pivot out of very poor directions and poor leadership. We'll see if it happens again.
Well, what do you think, Nick, to close out our thoughts on that? You've been quiet.
I mean, one part of me thinks a nice little break from the superhero movies will be a good thing. Like if you haven't seen one come out in a while, and then, a year, 2 years out, and, one comes out, maybe it gets a lot of hype built up around it or something. And people are like, oh, I haven't seen a superhero movie in a long time in the theater. Like, I think I'm going to go check this out. Then another part of me sees a lot of people just being like what Culture was saying, being checked out. The MCU, it just keeps heading in a downward spiral. But the thing about them is they knew what the top was. And I don't see them learning their lesson. I see them going, okay, how can we fix this and get back to that point and keep trying to throw stuff out there to try to make it stick. Like, hey, we were killing it with this Marvel thing, so let's keep working and trying to get back to that point. And I see them just, ultimately failing, but continuing to try to get back to that point and not learning their lesson and being like, okay, maybe we need to switch gears here completely turn things around, get a whole new story together, and get away from the message or any agendas, and get back to just a good, entertaining comic book movie or series of movies. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
I will agree with that. Let's shuffle on now. Just sort of a quick fire with some of these super chats we've got remaining. So Tom Workin for $2 says, roll on floor laughing. The ranch, Ashton Kutcher knew the plaintiffs. Again, I don't have too much to say on that really, but yeah. Scroll all the way down here. Spend a little bit of time on that. So Tom Workin for $5 says, whoever said superhero cinema has a shelf life in its recognized form, I agree. Yes, so sort of reshaping it, changing it up.
Yeah,
that is the potential.
I mean, if we use Westerns as kind of the blueprint here, what they have to do is figure out how to do these things cheaper, and make the events mean more again. So something like a Superman Legacy is an event, and all the other stuff is $60-70 million, lower level stuff that, it's not a big deal if you don't make much more than $200-300 million at the box office, which is kind of where these movies are landing now, which is kind of sad because at the end of the day, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably going to have a respectable box office, especially for a third film in a franchise. But the problem is you have here is the expectation factor, right? The expectations have completely changed because of superhero films. And I pointed it out, so I apologize for those who've heard me say this, but up until the superhero movies, it was an abnormality for a sequel to make more money than the original. Terminator 2 is the fluke, right? They don't normally have that. You go back through the 80s and 90s, 70s, very rarely there's like a handful of sequels that ever made more money than the original. A very small handful. So they knew then that they were going to be lucky to bring in half of what the original did. So they would spend about half of what the original cost, or didn't put much more into it, because they knew they can guarantee X amount of box office, and that's it. You were going to say something, Nick. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if Guardians makes 650, at the end of the day, I mean, it's not terrible, but for a Marvel film, it's not good.
That would have still lost money. Lost money.
It loses.
And that's when the balances have now tipped, right? Culture, like they have to figure out a way of doing this that works. Otherwise, it is going to just kind of fall under the weight of its own self.
Well, and Disney's, again, they're struggling to maintain the same revenue level, or to even get anywhere close to the 2019. 2019 is a pipe dream now for Hollywood as a whole. That was the biggest Hollywood year ever. Box office receipts. Disney's struggling to just maintain a revenue line that keeps their shareholders happy. They're everything that they're doing right now is losing them money.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the parks, which people always point to, well, guess what? The cash cow's not going to be around forever, especially if people are rejecting the material that you're now putting in those parks. You got problems.
That's true.
True. Sorry.
So let's shuffle on to it's quite a funny topic, actually. So it's kind of MCU Disney adjacent related, but it's a Variety article / interview where Scarlett Johansson opens up about the pain and triumph of Disney legal battle over Black Widow and Wes Anderson's liberating Cannes film. Now, probably not the headline Disney would have wanted. In fairness, it's quite a shocker, but it just goes to show she just doesn't just doesn't care at all. So this is all obviously, this is in part to promote. This is the interesting thing about this, right? Is it's in part to promote a film. That's the reason why this even happened, obviously, right? But it's what they chose to lead with. Variety led with the fact that it's the Disney legal battle.
No, it's because it's the spicier headline. It's the attention grabber.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But normally, mainstream, access media doesn't do this to Disney. They're very cautious and careful. They've been blacklisted.
Well,
I remember
to rewind a little bit, this was one of the few times the media was against Marvel and Disney. And you even had Kevin Feige step out of line with this bit. Because let's remember who was in charge when all this was happening. You know, the guy who's almost as bad as David Zaslav, Bob Chapek, remember?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was all about him.
So we'll just touch on this. It says, with Johansson, who plays a luminous 1950s movie icon in his film Asteroid City, the director, Wes Anderson, thinks he knows the secret. Scarlett's voice is so expressive and interesting. I would say it's her greatest strength. She got two other great assets. As she's become a bigger and bigger star, definitely, Johansson has grown more comfortable. Would you say?
3, sir.
In there? Yeah, good. More comfortable raising that voice when she feels she's been screwed over. This is Variety writing this. Case in point, she shocked the industry in July 2021 by stepping into the ring with Disney, the most powerful entity in Hollywood. The actress was quarantining in her Upper East Side apartment, days away from giving birth to Cosmo, her second child, when she filed an explosive lawsuit against the studio shortly after the release of its Marvel prequel, Black Widow. And then we have this. For the previous 6 months, Johansson's team had worked behind the scenes to push the studio to make good on the millions of dollars in back-end compensation she would forego when it released Black Widow simultaneously on Disney Plus and in theaters as the pandemic raged. The breach was clear-cut, given that her contract contained a stipulation that the Avengers spin-off be released exclusively in theaters. Adding insult to injury, Disney, then led by CEO Bob Chapek, bragged that Black Widow generated more than 60 million in Disney Plus Premier Access global sales in a bid to juice its stock price. In response to the suit, the studio took off the gloves and released a jaw-dropping statement that slammed Johansson for her callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of COVID-19 pandemic. I remember that. That was the biggest load of bollocks I'd read in quite a while. And casually revealed her tightly guarded 20 million upfront salary. By all appearances, the studio had declared war on an actress who played Russian assassin Natasha Romanoff in 8 of its Marvel tentpoles. It doesn't really matter, but it's still utterly hilarious. And so I have this comment anyway. So as Johansson and I sit together on an April afternoon in New York City, her megawatt smile fades as she winces at the memory of Disney's scathing statement. I was sad and disappointed, but mostly sad. It was such a surreal moment because we were all isolated and just sort of emerging a little bit. I was also really heavily pregnant too, which in a weird way was amazing timing. All right. Suddenly, your entire attention is drawn to this miracle of life. It should be anyway, you idiot. So I had the most wonderful distraction in the world, and soon after had a beautiful baby. Pause that. Go away. In contrast, Johansson's agent, Brian Lord, was anything but distracted. I lost my mind and said, how dare you make it seem like she's not worth this money or that she somehow hasn't earned it. She and I were very much in lockstep about what this was, and she had the conviction to let me fight back. A lot of people wouldn't do that. And part of the reason she did it is because she thought in the position she's in, she had a responsibility to not just herself, but to other people who were being confronted with this change. I mean, look, what do we think? Really? I mean, there's not an awful lot else in there, to be fair. It's all like, oh, you stand up for yourself. I got support.
It cost her another movie, didn't it? On top of it all, because that other Tower of Terror, is that still... Yeah, Johansson has dissipated and yeah, the Tower of Terror is not happening now, I don't think, or at least not with her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Tower of Terror, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, you know, on a whole, you know, when this all happened, I was one of the people that were like, yeah, I mean, like, if she's owed it, she's owed it. But, like, let's make no mistake. It's contractually obligated. She is owed the money, but let's make no mistake. She's not, you know, that movie wasn't a success. The fact that they even put themselves into that situation in the first place just goes to show how stupid Disney actually are, because they shouldn't have done that in the first place. They shouldn't have had it locked up tight in a contract that she was owed back-end deals of an X, Y, and Z amount. And, you know...
Well, and Warner made the same mistake, so it's not like they were exclusive in this.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But then they shouldn't... that's a movie that shouldn't have been made in the first place. Her solo movie is the movie that she gets killed off in, and cool, all right, fine, I guess. Well, not killed off, but you know, just ridiculous. The whole film was ridiculous. Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I don't know. Thoughts, guys. Thoughts. the fact that Variety are even saying this, printing this as an article, I think is pretty big, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be hard for her to find more work. And this, I mean, isn't this kind of like kind of old news at this point? I mean, we saw everything go down with that whole situation when it was happening, and it's just like, you know, like you said, if she's owed it, you know, she should get it. They fought back. She lost out on another movie, like Tom said, and she's probably not going to ever work for Disney again. I mean, I think that's probably pretty fair to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as her and her career moving forward, I think she'll be fine. She has really great assets to work with, and studios would probably love to sign her up for a project.
Well, she's got like a whole lot of projects, like Tom was saying. I mean, and the Tower of Terror project is still on the board, guys. So and it still has her attached to it with Taika White, whatever you want to call that guy.
I don't know if that movie's going to happen.
It's still on the board.
We'll see.
You're right, though. I mean, this thing has had a development cycle that started back in 2017. I mean, and it's a reboot of a very poorly made for television film.
And it also sounds like she sacrificed, because they did have a setup in the end of her movie that Black Widow comes back. And I kept saying to people, like, we still haven't seen the story about, you know, Captain America returning the stones. And that was supposed to be one of the Disney Plus shows. We'll see if that gets killed.
Yeah.
But in that, I would assume that's how you would bring her back, is we never know what would happen if they brought the stone back. Maybe you get back the person. And that was kind of the whole thing. That goes back to what I'd heard about Guardians' original plot is like I said, that
if you bring this back,
his whole thing is he wanted to go get Gamora back, but then he found out at the end that it wouldn't work because the stone was destroyed. He could have if he had the stone, but
Well, okay. To be fair, in covering this from the other side of the equation, I'm not surprised that the trades are going after them. First of all, everything's owned by PMC Media Group now. PMC Media Group recently has not had a good relationship with Disney. You know, you get what you pay for when it comes to them. Now, mind you, PMC owns Deadline. They own Hollywood Reporter. They own Variety. The only thing they don't own, of course, is The Wrap, because that's Sharon Waxman. But, you know, you no longer have people who will drudge up the actual info like Nikki Fink or any of the other, you know, entities that originally started these trade publications. You know, PMC has corrupted a lot of, you know, various magazines and papers for quite some time, and they're focused on the trades. So, but anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there. I just am going to say I'm just not surprised. I think the gloves are coming off, and look, I mean, the trades are going to side with the writers and the directors guilds, and right now you're in a war. You are in a war between the entities, and we just have to look at it that way.
Yeah, well, they screwed themselves. Yeah, it's all completely screwed anyway now.
Yeah.
Let's shuffle on out of some super chats.
Yeah.
So Tom Working for $2 says Disney's earnings are quickly becoming an nadir. Disney's profits and losses are more entertaining than their movies at this point in time. It's absolutely hilarious, and just talking about what they do now, again, it's more entertaining than what they produce, content-wise, media-wise. It's gold. Tom Worker says, no longer an example of what to do. Yeah. I mean, literally, companies are doing the opposite now of what they're doing. And I mean, you are 100% correct. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure for $5 says, Disney's budgets are out of control. Lightyear cost $200 million. Yep. Strange World was at least $130 million. And most superhero movies are 200 plus. Not good. Strange World costing $130 odd million was the most bizarre thing I'd ever ludicrous, because it looked like shit as well. It looked awful.
The big thing these animated films got to get away from first and foremost is, and I hate saying this right after the success of Mario Brothers, but think about how much more money that movie could have made and how much less it could have cost had you not had a bunch of A-list stars as voice actors. And this is the thing that makes these animated films so much more than they need to be right now, because We live in a golden age for animation. It is cheaper now to produce an animated film than it ever has been before, and easier than it ever has been before. But what's costing the big budget is, $3-4 million a pop for each one of these actors. And do we need Chris Pratt as Mario? No. Did it help the film? I'd argue it didn't matter. If anything, I don't think it would have made a difference one way or the other.
I think with that one, yeah. I think with Mario, it wouldn't have mattered. I think with
the only ones that matters now is like Shrek, for instance. But that's the ones that kind of started this whole thing. Was when DreamWorks, because that was their whole thing. Aladdin with Robin Williams also was kind of the start of this, because what's his name from who went from Paramount to Disney to DreamWorks? Help me out here, Culture. His name, the guy who just had that company last couple of years ago here, the streaming company.
The Quibi guy, Katzenberg.
Yes, Katzenberg's he's the guy who's responsible for this shit.
Yep.
He got it in his head that adults would start to come see, and he was right, but it also ruined animated films for the next 20 some plus years that we're living in now. He got in his head, if we get a bunch of A-list actors to do these voices, adults will come see these movies, and it worked for a while with DreamWorks and a lot of the Pixar films and Disney films, but now it's bloated these budgets. And the same thing with the superhero movies, right? Like, they got to find a way to make these movies for a lot less than they are. And one of the biggest problems is when you've got 5 superheroes in the movie and they're all A-list actors and they're all getting paid $5, $6, $7, $8 to $10 million a pop or more. Or your Robert Downey Jr.'s where they're getting a hell of a lot more than that.
It's foolish to spend money on that kind. You have so much voice talent out there that's not going to cost you, nearly as much until the second or third film. You just use them.
Well, even then, there's great voice actors who are not being utilized in these movies, right? Yeah. And this used to be their, bread and butter, so they could do all this other stuff a little cheaper.
Yeah. Doug, 1985 VA Loves Horror for $4.99 says, how did I know that Jenna Ortega would be playing Lydia's daughter before it was just officially announced? What's this?
I'm not.
This has actually been a rumor now for about a month. And this is the thing that I said, this is the only thing that's going to get this Beetlejuice sequel finally off the ground. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah. I heard there was
some heavy movement. Yeah, there's been some heavy finally on this Beetlejuice 2. And the only reason I said before, what was it, about a month ago, Culture, I believe it was. Yeah. So the only reason I believe this is going to happen now is because if Jenna Ortega is attached, because she is
it was heavily rumored before anyway.
Yeah,
wasn't it? So
the writers don't like her so much, but she is a hot actress.
Oh, he says in Beetlejuice 2. Sorry, mate. I should have scrolled down.
I got you covered there though.
Syrup Sailor for $1.99 says Superman is broken. He needs to be fixed. Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder's first mistake.
Yeah, nah, not the case. So that takes us up to present moment with all the super chats. We're going to wrap up the stream here because my split finger has now begun to weep and piss crap everywhere, so I need to fix that. My back is absolutely wrecked as well, so that's always fun. But thank you so much for joining. We do this podcast twice a week. It runs a little bit earlier on a Thursday, so please do join for that. If you haven't already, please do become a member of the channel. It really does help out, goes a long way. There are benefits to that as well. But please do, everyone who chimed in with absolutely brilliant and superb contributions on the panel today. We've got Culture Casino, we've got Tom, we've got Nick. Their channels are linked down below. Please, please, please do check them out and hit subscribe on their channels because you've enjoyed it. You've stayed. We've had nearly 400 people here. So clearly you've enjoyed their input. So do hit subscribe. It goes a long way. It helps them out. And it also encourages them to keep coming back to this podcast as well. So please do that. Links are down below. Guys, what have you got coming up? You got anything that you want to plug that you're doing?
I
6 minute dailies.
Yeah, I do. I will do weekly. I do weekly shows during the week. 6 minute dailies. I have a lot of fun breaking down the news and entertainment as fast as I possibly can. Been averaging about 20 stories a day. Doing that in 6 minutes is a little difficult. But we get through them, kind of hit the I give you the headline, of course, and then I give you the breakdown of what the story is trying to say. Because I have to tell you, writers like to write, even though they really don't need to. They do everything that they say could be 2 sentences. So I kind of break it down. It's a lot of fun. Then of course I've got a video coming out later this week. It's a little more serious. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's a little more serious about the entertainment business. And yeah, other than that, I get to hang out with the midnight folks, on the weekdays as well, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Tom,
what you got coming up, Tom?
Yeah, in about 45 minutes roughly, we got Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'll be there. I got Toxic Tuesday then after that, and the morning show tomorrow, and so on. So yeah, hopefully I see some of you guys in the chat.
Excellent. There. I'm sure you will. I'm sure everyone will be heading on over. Nick, a chill stream perchance?
Not tonight, but this Thursday.
Whoa.
So Coach dropped a video on our main channel today. I'm actually probably going to do one on this Beetlejuice 2 news on our second channel, Echo Base Entertainment, where I actually just uploaded my unboxing review of the Mando Chapter 16 Hot Toys Luke Skywalker figure. Which is freaking awesome. It finally showed up in the mail after 2 years. I paid for this thing 2 years ago, and it finally showed up.
That's really bad.
So yeah, I finally did the unboxing of that over there. So if y'all want to check out Echo Base Entertainment, our second channel, and then Thursday night chill stream, and then our regular weekly Saturday night stream this Saturday night.
Excellent. We just had one more super chat just come in briefly. Won't spend too long on that, I'm afraid, because my back is literally about to pop. Gary for £5 says there's rumors Jenna Ortega will play White Tiger if Marvel does better. I'm okay with it because she's perfect. The character is a cute young Latino.
See, you guys love her.
Jenna Ortega's. I do like Jenna Ortega. Is like
the
I like
amount
Jenna
of people that are
Ortega.
sticking up for Scream 5 and 6 for her is enormous.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I do like Jenna Ortega.
They do though.
I think she's quite good, and I think that she has a long.
I skimmed through Scream 6 last night. Was that horrible?
On purpose?
Just to kind of skim through it to see if there was anything.
Well, I had to watch it because I have to watch movies, and I. But anyway,
I literally skimmed through it. It was funny.
Yeah, that is for the best. And for ladies and gents, anyone who's sort of wondering what's happening on the main channel, normal as per content. We got no movies dropping for a little while, up until Fast X, I think, and then not.
And I can't be bothered with that one. I'm sorry, Nate.
And Dial of
That's
Dimension.
all right.
I've only seen like 10 minutes of the first one. So
yeah, well, the Transformers film I will be watching.
That one I might be able to
past or not, but we'll get there. But guys, thank you so much for watching. So thank you so much for joining the podcast today, contributing. Again, please do check out everyone down below in the description box. There are links there, as well as the second channel, Mistakes Reviews, live archives. But again, from me and everyone else, thank you so much. Peace out. Take care. We'll catch you on Thursday. Bye-bye now.
Bye, guys.
Peace.